Seeking the truth never gets old, even when it hides in the shadows. Immerse yourself in the world of June's Journey, a free-to-play hidden object game set in the roaring 20s. Solve the mystery of the devious gossip spreader and celebrate our 7th anniversary with exclusive events, never-before-seen decorations, thrilling mysteries, and exciting giveaways. The adventure and the gossip awaits. Are you ready for the journey? Download June's Journey today for free on Android or iOS.
George Clooney and Brad Pitt's new movie Wolves is on Apple TV Plus September 27th.
That's where I want you to be now.
So if you want to see George Clooney and Brad Pitt, go to Apple TV Plus.
You got to start the story there.
Or if you want to see Brad Pitt and George Clooney, go to Apple TV Plus.
I am enjoying the show.
And if you want to see their new movie Wolves,
You can't do it, I'm going to help you out. I can do it, so do it.
definitely go to Apple TV Plus.
Admit it, it's cool. Okay, fine, it was very cool.
Wolves, streaming September 27th on Apple TV Plus. Rated R.
Hey, everyone.
Oh, hey, everybody.
Wow, Jenny took so long to say hey that I actually was pressured into saying hey myself. So this is my intro now.
Listen, no. That's not how this works. I am the Lord of the intro.
We have just a couple of things to tell you up at the top here before we get into Humbug, a humdinger of an episode, if I do say so myself. First of all, we messed up in talking about who bites heads off chickens. I'm just going to get right into it, get right on into it. So later in the episode, you'll hear me talk about Ozzy Osbourne biting the heads off of chickens. LaToya, producer, special agent LaToya, wrote in to say this is a semantics thing, but Ozzy actually bit the head off of a bat and 2 doves on a separate occasion. Not a chicken. Alice Cooper, on the other hand, had a, quote, chicken incident. So,
Yeah.
you know,
Important distinctions to be made. I think oh, yes. The bat incident happened mid-gig. Someone threw a bat at Ozzy on stage. He thought it was a toy, bit the head off, and then subsequently had to get rabies shots.
Ozzy, so sorry,
I think
sir.
Ozzy is also the guy who, like, famously snorted a line of ants at a pool party.
Everyone,
To what end? Everyone stop doing things.
Yeah, well, anyway, now you know. And you know what? It's probably not the last time I will confuse Alice Cooper with Ozzy Osbourne. I apologize. Having nothing to do with Ozzy Osbourne or Alice Cooper, unless they really love really fucking cool sweatshirts and hats and socks, we have some, in my opinion, epic new merch that has hit the store as of today. Jenny, I'm going to talk about the smug bitch stuff because I think that between us, I'm the smugger bitch of the pod. We have a dad hat. It's back. It's very similar to the smug bitch hat that we had before, but it is a black denim and it is great. And if you're a smug bitch, you need one because the original run sold out real fast. We also have a pair of socks. Listen, we're all gay here, right? We all love socks. These socks are the best socks.
Is loving socks gay? Fellas, is it gay to love socks?
I don't know if you've met me, Jenny, but according to me, everything is gay. So
that's true. Yeah, you are always saying that.
Listen, these socks are awesome. They're tube socks with stripes, and then when you pick your feet up and cross them, you know how some people have the socks that are like, please get me another glass of wine on the...
Yes, if you can read this, bring wine.
We riffed on that concept, and one of the feet says smug and the other one says bitch. They're great. They're so great that like every person I know grabbed a pair off the top of the stack before I could even get them in the store. And then we have a couple new shirts, Jenny. Tell them about the shirts.
Beautiful friends. Once upon a time, 2 girls in Sunnydale formed a 2-girl gang called the Slayers. And when they did that, a shirt was born, a logo was born, a lifestyle was born. We've got brand new navy long sleeve girl gang shirts. The girl gang logo for the first time ever is on the back, and we've got a little hand with a stake on the left chest of the shirt. So that's looking very fresh and good, and you'll be ready for fall, of course.
Please imagine when you don that shirt that the hand on the front is just about to get handcuffed to another hand with a stake in it.
Oh, and then they'll be back to back. what else do we have for you? What can you layer over that? I have great news. A olive heather hoodie with our new and very popular UFO design created by Sophie Argetsinger, who is the best. You may have seen, or you may be wearing right now as you listen to this podcast, a black tank top with a UFO on it, beaming Mulder up or trying as hard as it can. We put it on a hoodie for you because we love you and because it's getting chilly out.
Another item that I had to pull many off the top before it went into the store. So I don't know. I think it's just going to be a super sexy fall for those of you who care to participate. You can find all of that. Just go to our website. It's the easiest way, bufferingcast.com. Just click on shop.
Kristin and I are going to now retreat to our meditation chambers where we will be hammering nails into our noses and escaping from straitjackets while hanging upside down over a cauldron full of boiling the conundrum. But please sally forth into this episode. You're in good hands with a slightly different version of us. We'll be talking about the episode. And and hey, don't forget to come see us in DC if you dare. If you think you have what it takes to come to our show in DC on October 27th, we'll see you there.
Yeah, we triple dog dare ya.
Yeah, you think you're so tough.
May I ask what you're doing?
We're exhuming your potato.
May I ask why?
Sheriff, it's been documented that many serial killers possess a fascination with police work. Some of them even holding positions on their local force. So, surveillance of investigation team members is often utilized as a
We
precautionary...
found out you used to be a dog-faced boy.
Hello, and welcome to the eX-Files. That's the eX-Files. A buffering rewatch adventure where we're watching and discussing every episode of the eX-Files one by one, spoiler free. I'm not a funhouse. I'm a tabernacle of terror. I'm Jenny Owen Youngs, ex-wife of Kristin Russo, and I grew up watching the eX-Files.
I almost chose that for myself, but Jenny, I want to let you know something. I'm Kristin Russo. I represent myself, and I am the ex-wife of Jenny Owen Youngs. I've only ever seen 44 episodes of the X. So many. Who could possibly?
That's such a vast number. I don't think either one of us could actually.
I don't know how to count that high.
Conceive of it. We're just two girls.
Just two young girls. Today we're talking about season 2, episode 20, Humbug.
Humbug. First, I'm told you hum, then you bug. Well, on special occasions, you could do it the other way around.
You could bug first and then hum?
Yeah. Humbug was written by Darin Morgan, Fluky himself.
Hell
here to set the X-Files writer room on fire.
Fuck yeah.
Directed by Kim Manners and originally aired on March 31st, 1995.
According to IMDb, this is the one where the agents search for a killer in a Florida town inhabited by sideshow performers. You think they were like, well, Darin Morgan knows a thing or two about being a little fluky at sea that no one understands. Perhaps he knows how to write this episode. But whatever reason they chose, he knocked this fucking episode out of the goddamn park. I've never been more excited to talk about any episode in my life.
Whoa.
That's not entirely true. I was pretty excited about like Beyond the Sea and Ice, but I'm like really excited about what this might mean for the future of the X-Files and Kristin Russo. We'll get into it. You can talk about the scary. The scary ranking has bumped up as well.
Special Agent LaToya Ferguson gives this episode a scary ranking of 3 out of 5 Tabernacles of Terror. I guess there are 2 cool guys in this podcast who
A third almost
pick
cool
cool
guy.
things, and one who just consistently makes the wrong choice at the last minute.
Wow. It's cool. It's cool to be here. It feels great.
LaToya writes in her notes, I was already dreading watching the episode despite knowing the reputation of Darin Morgan because of the image that comes with it on Hulu and IMDb. That's the image of the conundrum chowing down on some freshly caught sushi. I found this one difficult to rate as it was a lot more fun than scares, though there were scares. But a solid 3 seemed right on an objective level, especially factoring in Dr. Blockhead's body mutilation, which was definitely not fun to watch. Thankfully, the conundrum only triggered my nope, nope, nope response twice. It was Leonard, who I referred to as Oopie Gloopy during the attacks until we knew it was him, triggering that response throughout until he was chased by Mulder and Scully when he started to look like Mac from Mac and Me.
I couldn't believe that Mac and Me got a shout out. Mac and Me is a film that absolutely undid my little sister's existence. Like she could not sleep for like a year. It fucked her up so bad. She was so afraid of Mac specifically. Or
wow.
Yeah, Mac was the alien. Mars alien cool guy. I don't remember what Mac stands for, but it stands for something. General thoughts. I've already kind of tipped my hand about how much fun I had with this episode, but general thoughts, Jenny?
I'm so glad Darin Morgan is here. I've been waiting for him this whole time. I feel like this episode is just really, it's like the Fertile Crescent.
What does that mean, a Fertile Crescent?
Well, Kristin.
Like, I know what fertile means and I know what crescent means, but I don't really understand what.
Ever heard of Mesopotamia? The Fertile Crescent is a term coined to refer to a crescent-shaped region in Western Asia, formed by the Tigris and Euphrates rivers and the Mediterranean Sea.
Oh, very fertile.
This region gave rise to some of the world's earliest civilizations.
Wow.
So it is the Fertile Crescent we have to blame. I guess I just meant it feels like there's a lot to talk about.
Yeah.
And I thought, all of this is really interesting. Most of it is really well done. And it's exciting to see a new kind of X-Files episode.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, even not to start at the end, but even the last beat of the way that Mulder and Scully look at each other after the conundrum. He's the conundrum in the show, right? The Enigma is his actual name. He's must be something I ate, beat. They look at each other. We cut to the credits. Unless I am forgetting something, we have not gotten a moment like that in this series to date. And I am so excited because the shows that we love here at Buffering a Rewatch Adventure are shows that hold comedy and depth at the same time. And up until now, that balance has not really been struck. It felt to me like X-Files was exclusively trying to be depth and drama, and there was not a lot of humor. The humor was just sort of quips that Mulder might make or what have you. And I know that Darin Morgan is not going to be a stranger in this universe. And based on this script, I would say that he has what it takes to make those things work together. It actually reminds me of some of the conversations that we were having with LaToya about picket fences as well, a show I'm less familiar with, but that clearly does that same double lift. Yeah, we've done the last couple of episodes we've covered pretty succinctly, we've talked about them, we've hit the things we liked, and we've moved right along. I'm planning to just hunker down here with you, Jenny, because there are some fascinating off-ramps from this episode to other conversations, and I was fortunate enough this week to take an extra hour looking into some of those things. So it's not like I, made my thesis on this, but I just want to take our time because it's a good one.
There's so much to talk about, but there's one thing that we address every episode, and I have to address it here really quickly. Let's just get it out of the way so we can move on to more fun things. Mulder's hair has simply never looked worse.
Never. Peak.
He's starting to resemble the ball in the the Spencer's the Spencer Gifts ball that
what happens to like a small child's hair when they put their hand on it.
Yeah, he looks like he got his finger stuck in a socket.
If you'd like to dress up as Mulder from Humbug for Halloween, simply take a balloon and rub it on your short hair and, and then walk out to your Halloween party. It's so bad. It like took me out of the episode a couple of times. It was so bad. I'm sure I'll still scream about those moments. Apologies in advance.
Yeah. Okay, so cold open, Gibsonton, Florida. There are kids splashing around in a pool at night as a red, leathery, humanoid shape approaches them in the dark. Don't worry, it's just Dad. It's just an award-winning dad being really cute with his kids. And they have a time, and he's like, your mom's gonna kill me if you don't go brush your teeth. And they go inside, and that's when we get first the fake out of like, oh, here comes the monster. Oh, it's Dad. And then we get the round two, the 1-2 punch. There is yet another being in the dark, and it does attack Gerald Glazebrook, aka the Alligator Man, and kill him. This fake out ran so that the Darla subversion of the Buffy pilot could walk.
Nice. Yeah, and this is also just like case in point. This episode sets it up to knock it down. You have the normalization of the man that has ichthyosis and has been the famous alligator man, happily married, 2 children, playing in the pool. Like, it immediately says like the normalization of the quote freak is done, but also there is a monster. What is happening with this monster? And also you have these 2 fucking brothers in the pool, and the dad is like, be nice to your brother. And the other kid is like, meh. Like, it's all right there for you in a way that is fucking nice. I am holding up 2 okay symbols, 2 thumbs up, 2 okay symbols, 2 finger guns, all of the symbols. You love to see it. We cut to the credits.
R.I.P. Gerald.
R.I.P. Gerald.
Knew you.
I'm just going to skip ahead a little bit because we know that this is Leonard Lanny's twin who is embedded in his body. This is really sad because honestly, Leonard is just trying to he's not trying to kill anyone. He was just trying to have his brother
He's looking for connection.
He was looking for connection. He said, Gerald seems like such a nice guy. Love Gerald. See Gerald all the time. So sad. So we go to Mulder's office and we hear about this, right? We see the photos. It's an undetermined weapon. There's only 1 point of origin. Nothing was cannibalized. No organs were like nothing. There's just this point of entry and this man died. And Mulder tells us that there have been 48 attacks over the last 28 years occurring in every state in the U.S. almost, the first in Oregon and the last 5 in Florida. Scully immediately sets herself up as the person who needs to learn a lesson in the arc of this show by looking at the photo of Gerald and saying,
wait. Mulder's like, so here's all the facts, and we would have expected, I'm of course an incredible profiler, and I would have expected a lone serial killer to escalate their activity over 28 years, but that didn't happen. Scully, what do you think?
Scully, you're a medical doctor. What are your scientific opinions? Scully, imagine going through your whole life looking like this. Scully, at the very least, and LaToya points this out in her note, this episode has Scully going on something of a journey, and also the characters themselves call out some of the bullshit that Scully specifically is doing, though Mulder participates as well, which previous episodes have not given us. So we'll get there, but we at least start here where Scully is like, what? Someone who looks in a way that I've never seen before? couldn't imagine that experience. Scully, that's the point. We need you to start imagining experiences outside of your own. Can you do that for us?
Oh, yeah. Scully needs to start imagining experiences outside of her own. I think that what would help Scully sort of like unclench and like really have the time and space that she requires to sort of like deprogram some of her like internalized bad thought patterns would be if she could just get in a fucking bathtub for one time.
I think that if she could have stayed in this trailer in Gibsonton, like she should just hang out there for like a good year.
What I'll say is that Scully looks totally natural in this trailer. She just like immediately looks right at home, and I was happy to see it.
She does. Gibsonton had more of an impact on Dana Scully than anything I've seen to date, including holding actual alien fetuses in
baby alien
her hands.
Oh.
Okay, so I have a question right at the top. If you are our sister of an FBI agent, please ask your sister this question, because this is at the very minimum the second time, but I think there have been more times that these two have strolled into an actively happening funeral. Okay? The funeral is in the middle of being a funeral, and these two suits walk in and sit the fuck down. Do FBI agents do this? Do they even go to funerals, or do they just like sit in their car if they need to observe something?
Based on the like sort of like acknowledgement nod that they get from Sheriff Hamilton as they find their way to their seats, it seems like he was like, "Meet me. Here's where I'll be."
I just feel like have
just
a
feel
little
like he's
respect.
got an office. You know what I mean?
Yeah. The priest, immediately we see this man. This guy, his name is Alvin Law. I looked him up. He's like a motivational speaker. And there's like literally alvinlaw.com. You can see like what he's doing now. But there's also some incredible videos from probably around the time that he made this show where he talks about being born with no arms. And it's really incredible. He talks about like his mom bringing him to school and the person being like, your kid can't go to school here. He has to go to like the school across the street where kids like him go. And his mom being like, what do you mean? Like, why? He can do everything that all of these other kids can do. Like, he doesn't have any needs that need to be fulfilled by this school. And eventually, like, they let him into the school. And then there's this amazing band teacher who's like, he scores so high in music aptitude and like rigged up this system so he could play the fucking trombone. And like, that's how he got involved in music. He can play the fucking drums with his feet, the piano with his feet. Like, he's incredible. And his own, this is what I'm saying.
Whoa.
Like, I can't take the time to like really do proper dives on everyone, but I'll try to give us like a good meaty list of in-episode links in the show notes so you can read more, because it is, if you take a couple of hours and do some reading, I mean, there's some really fascinating individuals in the cast of this show. But for now, he is the priest. He's doing the reading. The bearded lady has married Alligator Man, right? She's got her veil on, her widow's veil, and she's sitting with the two boys. Scully sees Lanny. Lanny played, of course, by Vincent Schiavelli, who, you know, I immediately, anytime I see this man, I'm like, I just picture Patrick Swayze learning how to be a ghost. Like, it's all I can ever see when I see him, because that's where he was burned into my memory. But he also plays Jenny Callender's uncle on Buffy the Vampire Slayer. And he's a fucking badass. And Scully's kind of like, they're both looking around, but Scully's really doing a particular kind of looking. And this sort of sets the stage for something that I am so into about this episode, is that Scully's looking, and they're all fucking looking at Scully and Mulder, I assume. Just like, what are these freaks doing here? And I love it. And like, Jenny, you and I have both had several experiences at a camp that used to exist called A Camp. It was run by Autostraddle, and it was a queer sleepaway camp for adults. And, you know, obviously there are differences between queer identity and disability, and there's overlap between those things and on. But the power of a space, and we'll talk about Gibsonton as well, but the power of a space where your identity is normalized in a world where your identity is not normal, is not perceived as normal, is endlessly powerful in a way that I would have never known had I not gone to a mountain with 400 people who were also queer in many different ways, shapes, forms, etc., and felt the lift of a weight. And if 2 fucking straight people had showed up on that fucking mountain, we would have been looking at them just like all of these people in Gibson Town are looking at Scully and Mulder like, the fuck are you doing here? Like, they are othered. And the episode, I think, really does, and, you know, write us emails and let us know if we miss anything. But for me watching this, I was like, man, this episode really nails this in so many moments in so many ways. So just want to say that at the beginning. Say that at the top.
Oh, yeah. We'd be remiss if we didn't start noting this early in the episode that Lanny is wearing a baby Bjorn-ish and drinking regularly from a flask. Okay.
Definitely got,
like,
I think he's a whiskey drinker. What do you think?
That would be my bet, yeah. Kristin, the priest says what I'm always saying to you. There's one strong box from which none of us can escape. Cue the earth beneath the coffin beginning to rumble. Blockhead, Dr. Blockhead, to you.
Dr. Blockhead. No doctorate needed.
Bursts forth from the earth beneath the coffin. He didn't know the deceased personally? ?
It doesn't seem that way since a lot of offense is taken. Like, it doesn't seem like... At first I thought, like, oh, this is a little fun, like, ode to Alligator Man. And also, like, Alligator Man, we learn, Gerald Glazebrook is also, like, a massively talented escape artist. And, you know, I thought, like, oh, this is just like, you know, when you do a fun thing at your dad's funeral or whatever. It's like nice because everybody will get it, but there's like a lot of offense taken, so it seems he
did
shakes
you
out
at the celebration for your dad's life, did you hammer anything into your body at all?
I didn't hammer any stakes into my body, but we did have every single person who attended the celebration of life take their spoon and attempt to hang it off of the tip of their nose, which was a trick that my dad loved to do. And if we were ever at a restaurant, the fancier the better. We didn't go to fancy restaurants often, but he would have my sister and I fog up the spoon and try to get it to stay. We're all Italian, so we also have to like wipe our noses off because they get a little oily, and then you try to, you know, if you see me at a live event and you need instructions on how to hang a spoon from your nose, just let me know. This is Jim Rose, who is the founder of the Jim Rose Circus. Dr. Blockhead, played by Jim Rose. This is when I texted Jenny. I texted her, the amount of words that I just read in 2 sentences is why I'm excited about this episode, okay? The Jim Rose Circus Sideshow started in 1991. It came to prominence at Lollapalooza. Just get your bingo cards out, okay? Tick off Lollapalooza in 1992. They toured with Lollapalooza. He toured in 1994 with 9 Inch Nails, Pop Will Eat Itself, Marilyn Manson. Ew. His 97-98 world tours featured female sumo wrestling, Mexican transvestite wrestling, and chainsaw football. What is chainsaw? Is the football the chainsaw? Is it, I don't even know, but I was like, this episode has everything. You know that SNL skit? Like, this club has everything. This episode has everything.
It even has Phil's Diner, where I'd like to go. This seems like a much more appropriate place for Sheriff Hamilton, Scully, and Mulder to be discussing the details of the recent death of Gerald Glazebrook. This is where they find out that he was an incredibly accomplished escape artist. This is where we find out that this town was founded in the 1920s when Barnum and Bailey performers needed a place to chill in the off season, right? This is a real town, Gibsonton.
Yeah. One of the articles that I insist that you click upon and read in the show notes is an article from The Guardian. LaToya unearthed it for us, and it is an incredible read from top to bottom, in my personal opinion, and we can tell you a little bit about this actual town. All right, I'm going to just read the very first few sentences of the article to set it up. For those who didn't quite fit elsewhere, Gibsonton, which they refer to as Gibton, was a utopia. Its first settlers, the giant and his wife, the half-woman, ran a campsite, a bake shop, and the fire department. The post office catered to little people with extra low counters, and the beer hall had custom-built chairs for the fat ladies and the tallest man. Special zoning regulations allowed residents to keep and train exotic animals in their gardens. Siamese twin sisters ran a fruit stand. 3 factories manufactured Ferris wheels and carousels. This is a camp. I'm sorry, but is this not a camp? So there were a couple of things that really hit me reading about this actual town and watching this episode. And one of them is that the exhibition today, this article was written, I think, in 2015. Yeah, 2015. Today, this is quoting the article again, the exhibition of, quote, extraordinary bodies remains illegal in several states, with laws reflecting a discourse of victimization. Michigan, Pennsylvania penal codes, for instance, prohibit the exhibition of any, quote, deformed human being or human monstrosity, end quote, except for scientific purposes. That the performers are consensual adults, highly paid, and not necessarily suffering is often overlooked. And that's like an ongoing theme in this episode, too. I especially love the conflict between Mr. Nutt, who we will talk about, of course, Michael Anderson, when we get there. But the conflict with Mr. Nutt and the other folks who perform in the sideshow, I think, is really brilliant. It highlights the fact that, like, it's not just like folks who have atypical bodies are all on the side of sideshows being legal or not. There's intercommunity conflict, right? But the idea that as a consensual adult, you cannot agree to do this to make a living, especially because a lot of these folks might not be able to, especially as years and years ago, make a living elsewhere, is extremely controversial. And the article gets here too, but immediately my mind went to sex workers, strippers, and other things where in those two cases, women are using their bodies to use a system that essentially oppresses them to make income, because that is what they choose to do and what they want to do. You'll have, of course, women who say, how demeaning, how could you ever do that? You're making it worse to be a woman, right? And we're not going to go into all of those like interior arguments, but it's really, in my opinion, it seems really fucked up to take away the autonomy of folks who want to participate in this. And by default, then taking away these communities that exist where they get to literally just be among people who walk through the world in ways different from them, but experience a lot of things in similar ways. So I just found that in this article to be a particularly fascinating point. And I think, we're not going to hit on every beat of it as we go through the show, but just like keep it in the back of your mind, read the article. And then the other thing that I just want to touch on, which I didn't know, is that the article says, although sideshow originated in Europe, it was in America that it flourished. The Second World War's persecution of disabled people triggered a flight of, quote, freaks across the Atlantic. Not everyone managed. The Icelandic giant found out that his show's dwarf harmonica players had all been murdered by the Nazis. Like many others, he ended up in Gibton. His enormous silver gold Viking gown now hung away in the corner of the Showman's Museum. So that's a massive history here too, right? Obviously, I mean, I think we all know that Jewish folks were persecuted by Nazis, but so were queer people and disabled people, basically atypical. Anyone who was atypical, as prescribed, of course, by folks who were Nazis, were persecuted. And so seeing that also tied to the rise in sideshows in the U.S. is fascinating and interesting. There's so much here. There's so fucking much here. Thank you for letting me tell you about Gibsonton. Read the whole article.
Okay, so Scully draws a conclusion which feels pretty intuitive, which is, all of these previous murders have taken place all over the country. It would make a lot of sense if somebody who was on the circuit did that, because it would provide a reason for all of these different locations to be sites of murders. Then she gets into maybe like a train of thought that's like a little more tenuous.
Well, this is like Scully, please even do some work to imagine an experience outside of your own, because she says their isolation, her hypothesis. I write in my notes, Scully, stop trying to profile. Like, just stop. That's not your job. Okay, you're supposed to be the medical doctor. Stop. Because she's like, their isolation from everyday...
What, is Mulder going to do an autopsy in this episode?
Exactly. When Mulder does a fucking autopsy, you can profile. She says their isolation from everyday society caused by their physical deformities could have built up pathological resentment so intense that murder might be... Sheriff Hamilton is like, whoa, lady. Slow your fucking roll. And she then like goes on to do this like, well, if you want to say that everyone here is completely normal, then we shouldn't be treating them any differently. Then they could also murder.
This I feel like she took a nasty swerve, but this I appreciate because I feel like everyone is capable of murder. Anyone could be capable of murder.
Yes.
And to suggest that certain parties should be excluded from the suspect pool because of A, B, or C doesn't feel like very good detective work.
Sure. It's just that we're in Scully
If she was infantilizing them or something and saying, oh, like they couldn't possibly
murder
be capable of murder. I don't know why this is suddenly my the hill that I'm trying to die on. Let everyone murder.
Well, I will at least read LaToya's addendum to the end of this quote, which is Scully's doing a real quote, I'm not blankist. I see everyone as a piece of shit thing here. Like, wobbly ground. But yes, of course, like it's not the infantilization. It's not the like whatever, but there's a lot of stuff happening with Miss Scully that
Mulder can't be bothered. Much like me when we tape this podcast, Mulder has checked out entirely from his partner, has not heard a word she has said because there is a drawing of a Fiji mermaid on the menu. He's like, I have to meet this artist immediately. Where are they?
Oh my God. They're at Hepcat's place. Oh my God. This is a mood. You know that people have walked into your fucking studio, but you're going to make these fucking people say your name. He is working on his art, and he has fucking Screamin Jay Hawkins blasting a song called Frenzy.
It's the only song he works to.
It's the only song he works to.
He has it on repeat.
And because I already went on a tangent about Gibsonton, I'm saving Hepcat's second play of Frenzy by Screamin Jay Hawkins to tell you some shit I learned about Screamin Jay Hawkins. But like, stay tuned because it's a fucking fun ride. Mm-hmm. But yeah, he waits until they're like, Hepcat, and he's like, God fucking damn it. He refers to... He says, who are these rubes? Which made me look up rube because I was like, I feel like I like sort of know what that means, but not really. It's a term that was used to refer to, quote, your average country bumpkin. Problematic in many ways, but someone calling a rube is another way of saying you sound like an idiot and you don't know what you're talking about. It implies a lack of sophistication, manners, education, and culture. It actually originates because a lot of people who worked in farming in the 19th century were named Reuben, which is just a random factoid. But that aside, I love this choice, right? It's doing the same thing again. It's like, these are the people that lack the sophistication and the culture, and they're in our town. Okay, it's Fiji mermaid time, Jenny.
It's just a bit of, humbug, Kristin.
What is humbug? Can you tell everybody how LaToya described humbug? Because I thought it was quite fun.
Okay, LaToya writes, as most folks probably only think of this word in relation to Christmas via A Christmas Carol, LaToya wanted to clarify a humbug is a person or object that behaves in a deceptive or dishonest way, often as a hoax or in jest. So when Scrooge says bah humbug, he's calling Christmas and all the Christmas trappings a bunch of bullshit.
A lot to say about Scrooge, tell you what.
Oh.
I can't say it all, kids. This podcast, it turns out this episode could spin off into its own mini-series with Kristin Russo. This was a mummified monkey. That was
monkey on top and fish on the bottom. Just how I like my women.
What? The circus mullet. You know what I mean? Party in the back.
Uh-huh.
Fish in the back. Monkey on the top.
Yeah.
But Hepcat says, like, this actually is why Barnum was a genius, because you don't know where the truth ends and the humbug begins. Barnum came right out and said this Fiji mermaid thing is just a bunch of BS, and it made people want to go and see it even more. Maybe he hawked it as a hoax when in reality, Mulder's like, yeah. In reality, the Fiji mermaid was real, right? Like, that's why we're here, because we work on the X-Files. Mermaid. Mulder chants in the background.
Mulder is so excited because there have been some unidentifiable tracks found at a couple of the crime scenes that have been thought to be perhaps simian in nature. He's like, what about fucking simian in the front and fucking fishy in the back?
You can't see the monkey paw prints because the fish comes after, wipes them away.
Exactly. Scully's like, do you recall what Barnum said about suckers?
Do you, Jenny?
There's one born every minute, Kristin.
One born every minute. I did a little myth busting. It doesn't actually seem that he was quoted as saying that, but I mean, everybody thinks he is, but regardless, a sucker is born every minute. We're all suckers. It's part of what makes us us, you know?
Mm-hmm.
The Gulf Breeze. One day I would like to do a limited edition line of shirts that are just the fucking motel names that these fuckers stay in. You know what I mean?
Vacation Village.
Gulf Breeze.
That one from the Fluky episode.
Americans take about 20,000 breaths a day and spend an average of 90% of their time indoors. Get outside, you guys. But when you're inside, you should know that the indoor air that we breathe can be up to 100 times more polluted than outdoor air, according to the EPA. Indoor air pollutants can cause respiratory symptoms like sneezing and congestion, a scratchy throat, and even more serious health problems like lung and heart disease. Jenny, what are we going to do?
Fear not, Kristin. Introducing Air Doctor, the air purifier that filters out 99.99% of dangerous contaminants, so your lungs don't have to. This includes allergens, pollen, pet dander, dust mites, mold spores, and even bacteria and viruses.
Okay, great. Thank God, because really the first part of that had me very worried.
I know.
Air Doctor comes with a 30-day money-back guarantee. So if you don't love it, you just send it back for a refund minus the shipping. You just head to airdoctorpro.com and use promo code X-Files Rewatch. That's with the E. eX-Files Rewatch. You'll get up to $300 off of their air purifiers.
Exclusive to podcast customers, you'll also receive a free 3-year warranty on any unit, which is an additional $84 value. Lock this special offer by going to AIRDOCTORPRO.com and use promo code EXFILESREWATCH. That's X-Files Rewatch.
As a podcast network, our first priority has always been audio and the stories we're able to share with you. But at Realm, we also sell some pretty cool merch, and organizing that was made both possible and easy with Shopify. When you think about successful businesses like Aloe or Allbirds or Skims, an often overlooked secret is the business behind the business that makes selling and, for shoppers, buying simple. For millions of businesses, that business is Shopify. That's because nobody does selling better than Shopify. It's the home of the #1 checkout on the planet. And the not-so-secret secret that's definitely worth talking about is that Shop Pay boosts conversions up to 50%. That's more happy customers and way more sales going. If you're hoping to grow your business, your commerce platform better be ready to sell wherever your customers are scrolling or strolling, on the web, in your store, in their feed, and everywhere in between. Businesses that sell more, sell on Shopify. Upgrade your business and get the same checkout we use with Shopify. Sign up for your $1 per month trial period at shopify.com/realm, all lowercase. Go to shopify.com/realm to upgrade your selling today. Shopify.com/realm.
I'm Sandra, and I'm just the professional your small business was looking for. But you didn't hire me because you didn't use LinkedIn Jobs. LinkedIn has professionals you can't find anywhere else, including those who aren't actively looking for a new job, but might be open to the perfect role, like me.
In a given month, over 70% of LinkedIn users don't visit other leading job sites. So if you're not looking on LinkedIn, you'll miss out on great candidates like Sandra. Start hiring professionals like a professional. Post your free job on linkedin.com/qualify today.
So, okay, welcome to the chat, Michael J. Anderson. Michael J. Anderson has been in a ton of things. LaToya let us know that Michael J. Anderson, actually, we just talked about the episode that has the elephant of picket fences. Michael J. Anderson is riding that elephant in picket fences. I did not know that.
Incredible stuff.
Immediately, of course, I'm like, oh my God, Twin Peaks. He, of course, has a massively notable role in Twin Peaks. He's a badass.
Do you think because of the editing of the show, we can't see every single moment of Mulder and Scully's lives as they move through their day? Do you think it's possible that Mulder actually starts every conversation with every new person that he ever meets by asking them if they've done much circus work?
Yes. Tell me, have you done much circus work in your life? He says it verbatim to Lanny in the next scene, like verbatim. And I do. Yes, I agree with this canon.
Mr. Nutt, that's Michael J. Anderson's character's name, is not interested in this line of questioning.
No, he's like, what makes you fucking think I was in a circus? Just because I'm small, just because I'm short, that you think that only career I could procure for myself would be in the circus. You took one quick look at me. He says all this to Mulder. Mulder is like, I'm sorry, I meant no offense. And then this is where Mr. Nutt makes a turn that unfortunately doesn't help his case.
Well, then why should I take offense? Just because it's human nature to make instantaneous judgments of others based solely upon their physical appearances? Well, I've done the same thing to you, for example. I've taken in your all-American features, your dour demeanor, your unimaginative necktie design, and concluded that you work for the government. An FBI agent. But do you see the tragedy here? I have mistakenly reduced you to a stereotype. A caricature, instead of regarding you as a specific, unique individual.
But I am an FBI agent.
Register here, please.
Incredible. The making fun of Mulder, because even though this kind of dings Mr. Nutt's point because his assumption is spot on, it's still like a ding to Mulder that he's like, you're fucking stupid ass tie and you're fucking this and you're fucking what are you, an FBI agent? Mulder's like, yeah. And then later, maybe the best moment Mulder has had in the series, we'll talk about it when we get there.
This is a defining characteristic of Darin Morgan's work on the show. He loves absolutely nothing more than to drag Duchovny. It's his favorite thing.
Well, I love it, so I'm glad to get more of it. Also, one quick Michael J. Anderson fact. Prior to his acting career, he worked as a computer technician for Martin Marietta and was part of the ground support system for NASA's space shuttle. Okay.
What?
I know! Also, my notes, all caps, Mulder's fucking horrific hair. It has never looked worse.
Oh my God, it's so bad. All right, so Lanny's going to help them find their way to their lodging. Mulder rewound the tape and is like, tell me, have you done much circus work? Lanny's like, whoa, it was the best job I ever had. I loved it. All I had to do was stand there. When I, made my joke, I got big laughs. And Mulder was like, why'd you give it up? And Lanny says, Mr. Nutt, the kind-hearted manager here, convinced me that to make a living by publicly displaying my deformity lacked dignity. So now I carry other people's luggage.
A lot in that answer.
Mm-hmm.
And I already mentioned that this is important. This feels really important. It's like it's a little piece of a larger story, but feels really important. Fucking Lanny has to be one of my favorite characters. I mean, also so much because of the writing and the performance here. The combination is gold. I believe these are your trailers. If they are not, then I am wrong. This is some Twin Peaks shit right here. You want to talk about Twin Peaks? This is some Twin Peaks shit. Yeah, absolutely fucking beautiful. Mulder is fucking giving Scully shit because she doesn't think that the Fiji mermaid should be on their suspect list.
Oh, why so narrow, Scully?
Okay, wow, we're back at Hepcat's place again, where I write, does this man only listen to Frenzy by Screamin Jay Hawkins on repeat while he works?
Yes.
Let me just tell you, like, a couple quick things about Screamin Jay Hawkins. If you do not know Screamin Jay Hawkins, like, I knew of Screamin Jay Hawkins, but I didn't know a lot about him. And I watched a few things, and holy shit, go and do a deep dive. Most folks, I think, know I Put a Spell on You, his performance of I Put a Spell on You, like, iconic. I don't know if you know this, Jenny, and I'm really putting on your hat right now as a little mini music deep dive, but that recording, which was one of the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame's 500 songs that shaped rock and roll, was made in 1956. Hawkins originally envisioned the tune as a refined ballad, but the entire band was intoxicated during a recording session where, quote, Hawkins screamed, grunted, and gurgled his way through the tune with utter drunken abandon. The resulting performance was not a ballad, but instead a raw, guttural track that became his greatest commercial success and reportedly surpassed 1 million copies. Now, although Hawkins blacked out and was unable to remember the session, he relearned the song from the recorded version. Meanwhile, the record label released a second version of the single, and they removed most of the grunts that had been embellished in the original performance. This was in response to complaints about the recording's overt sexuality. Nonetheless, it was banned from radio in some areas. And then one more point. Furthermore, the recording attracted the ire of groups such as the NAACP, quote, which worried that his act would reflect badly on African Americans. So a couple of things. One, I will link to the YouTube video because the Spotify track does not have all of the original grunts. It must be the edited version, but YouTube has what I believe is the original. I'll link it for you so you can listen to it, and then also link a performance. This man had like a little skeleton that he would carry around with him on a stick that he would make like shoot out fire. I've never seen anything like it. Absolutely epic, unbelievable. And then, of course, right in fucking Screamin Jay Hawkins' story is exactly the thing that I'm talking about, where like this is a black man, as you probably deduced if you didn't know that. This is a black man who is doing these like wild theatrical performances at a time when like this is not at all the norm. And there are other black people who are like, can you please stop doing that? Because we're trying to get folks to accept us in mainstream society. And this is not helping, which if you're queer and have any context of history, that's a huge ongoing conversation and was massive years ago. Don't walk around naked with your boas on and you're this and you're that. Like, we want people to know that we can have families and we can button up our shirts and we can be just as normal as you. There's a divide between communities about this kind of thing, and it's in all marginalized communities that divide exists. And we see it here with Mr. Nutt and so many of the other folks who are participating in sideshows. And I just this is my shit, you guys. Thank you for letting me go on.
I just want to read a quote from Screamin Jay Hawkins about the song. He says he intended to record it as a refined love song, like you said, right? However, the producer, Arnold Maxon, brought in ribs and chicken and got everybody drunk, and we came out with this weird version. I don't even remember making the record. You kind of already said all of that, but the thing that I love is, before, I was just a normal blues singer. I was just Jay Hawkins. This is the song that made him Screamin Jay Hawkins. He says, it all sort of fell in place. I found out I could do more destroying a song and screaming it to death.
It's unbelievable, Jenny. When you watch the video of the performance, I'm sure there's many, but like I'm going to link the one that I found. It's It's truly epic. It's unbelievable. And the way the band like plays off of him, where he's like screaming, there's no words in what he's screaming, right? He's just like screaming rhythmically along to the thing, and he'll like stomp his foot and the band will hit. And then he'll fucking gesture to a band member and that band member will do a solo. It's like fucking unreal. It's so cool. And so what a cool choice also for the song that Hepcat is listening to, and the song that is sort of like the core of this episode, because it ties in. Darin Morgan. So far, I'm your number one fan.
Okay. The only thing that I want to add about the song is that it appeared on the compilation Songs in the Key of X, which I famously possessed as a child and listened to a lot. All right. While Hepcat is working away into the wee hours of the night, listening to Frenzy again, we see, a little red gloopy guy.
Oopy gloopy.
Oopy gloopy coming through the window. And then attacking Hepcat.
I mean, honestly, Leonard's making great choices for another brother. These are cool people. My location for the next scene is outside. Mulder's running. Gotta look good for Scully. That's just the location.
Good location. Here's something about this. I rewound and paused a bunch of times. Not sure what's going on here, but it looks like Mulder may have like spilled some water on his crotch.
Yes, I actually saw that the first time when we watched it casually, and then I missed it on my note taking. But I do remember saying, "Did he pee a little bit? What happened?"
So he
there?
just sweat. He's really sweating profusely, but only in one area.
Yeah, it's only because he's been working on retracting his testicles into his abdomen.
Yeah, that's probably why.
Okay.
Why? Who's that splish splashing in the water? It is so cold when they were filming. When they made this episode, it is so cold in Vancouver. Poor naked loincloth conundrum splashing in the water with his fresh fish.
Yeah.
This poor guy. He's so cold.
This guy is known as the Enigma. He's had even more work done since, like, he literally has a full body. This is real. This is his real jigsaw tattoo. He's had way more work done since this was taped, because the photo on Wikipedia in 2018 has way more puzzle pieces colored in with this blue. And he also has had horns. So what do you call it? Body modification done, where they like put horns underneath his skull that like poke out. Also, sorry, but sidebar on the Enigma. The woman who did most of his tattoo, she was known as Katsin the Tiger Lady. They got married and then divorced. She has tiger stripes all over her body, and she also had whiskers that were part of body piercings in her cheeks for a long time, until she felt like they were obscuring her vision in a way that wasn't good. And then she used scarification to get her whiskers like on her, like the suggestion of whiskers on her cheeks.
Whoa.
So, yeah, wild, wild, wild. Read about all these folks, but the Enigma still doing his thing out there. The 90s seem to be a big moment for a lot of these folks who are, they make a differentiation between sort of like the kind of performers in a sideshow, and the Enigma and Dr. Blockhead are a particular kind of performer where they are actively modifying their bodies or, teaching themselves skills to do to their bodies. And so, yeah, he's out there having a blast.
Do you think he, I recently saw a reel that was titled "Popular Girls Eating Things," and it's someone at a desk eating like a tiny little bite of a cookie and like covering their mouth while they chew and then like dabbing their mouth a million times with a napkin. Do you feel like that's what's going on here? He doesn't want Mulder to watch him eat?
Yeah, he definitely doesn't. And I don't know if that's because of what we learned from Dr. Blockhead later, that he is not supposed to be snacking between performances, or if it's that he is embarrassed. He doesn't want this, because this isn't part of his community. You're not allowed to watch me, Freaks don't need to pay at the Museum of Curiosities, but if you're a fucking normal person, you got to put your donation in. You can't watch the Enigma eat fish either. Get out of here. This ain't your town. He's known as a geek. We'll learn it later, but he's known as a geek. This is, a term used in sideshow and carnival to describe people who will eat animals, just raw, like bite, Ozzy Osbourne style, bite the head off the chicken, but in many other permutations. Wild.
Meanwhile, in Scully's trailer.
Do you think that she packed a robe because she hoped maybe she would get a bath? There's no way that this...
You don't think the trailer comes with a robe?
I don't think that this is a robe.
It's awfully robust
hotel.
of you, Kristin. I think the trailers might have robes.
Really?
I think that Lanny's got a robe. Not that I'm just saying,
he lives
robes
there.
might be valued. This is your home away from home. We want you to be comfortable.
Okay.
Take a load off.
I mean, I celebrate that. I just like the story more if Scully packed her robe.
Yeah. Yes. So there's this trampoline thing going on outside. And then Lanny comes to the door. Scully and Lanny are both in robes that are more open than maybe they should be, or than they want them to be, and they each kind of like take a look,
take a peek. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
LaToya didn't love this specifically because, we know that it's like men behind the script, men behind the directing, men behind the camera, and it's whatever. But I do like this. I think it draws some more of those parallels that I was talking about before, the like wanting to see the thing that you don't know about. And obviously with Scully, this is the atypical body of Lanny and like what's happening there. But I like that it's returned by Lanny, who is like, boobs. I just feel I'm not ready to unpack it on an academic level, but I feel like I understand the choice, and I think that there is some stuff there, connect it back to all the other stuff I said before. And if you disagree, you disagree. But I think it's an interesting choice.
Also interesting, there's been another murder. Let's go back again to Hepcot Helm's workshop. This time, Frenzy is not playing.
Do you think that Leonard on his way out used one of his little fingies to press stop on the
Could
tape
somebody
player?
check the stop button on the cassette player for any residual gloop or oop?
Why did the killer go through the window? Mulder sees that there's blood on the outside of the window, and Sheriff Hamilton says they'd have to be a contortionist or crazy or both. We can find a contortionist real easy. We're in Gibsonton. Let's go.
Yeah. Does anybody go looking for a contortionist?
You don't even have to go looking. They just went back to the trailer park, and Jim Rose is like, I mean, I don't know. He's not a contortionist, but he definitely is like.
That's what I'm saying.
Right. If he's dangling above a cauldron in a straitjacket, you have to be like, don't you have to, I mean, not a contortionist like, in a wild way, but you have to be kind of a contortionist to, don't you have to like detach your fucking arms from their shoulder sockets to get out of a straitjacket and shit?
I don't know. I've never done it.
Me either, but that's what I imagine. I feel like you can't just like keep your body parts where they are to get out of a straitjacket. There's got to be some popping and shifting.
Don't tell me what I can and can't do with my body parts.
Halloween Hootenanny, October 27th. Kristin puts Jenny in a straitjacket and sees if she can get out during the course of the day.
See if I can bob for apples in the straitjacket.
Yeah.
Dr. Blockhead does not perform tricks. He performs astounding acts of body manipulation and pain endurance. Hammers nail into nose. Little background.
Starting in my homeland of Yemen, I studied with yogis, fakirs, and swamis, learning the ancient arts of body manipulation. But most men know nothing of these arts. For instance, did you know that through the protective Chinese practice of Tu Bu Shan, you can train your testicles to drop into your abdomen?
Oh, I'm doing that as we speak.
This is funny. Also, I feel like I should read a little bit of what LaToya told us about Kim Manners, who directed this episode, and what he had to say about some of the chaos that occurred. Producer-director Kim Manners thought Humbug as the first X-Files that was a comedy was particularly challenging. A bizarre show, he recalls with a laugh. Chris said he was throwing the audience a curveball. Well, he threw a whole lot more than a curveball. There I am, a new producer. I'm directing my second episode, and it's a comedy. I'm working with Jim Rose, who's an entertainer, not an actor, and he's got 5 pages of dialogue. He's outside in just a pair of pants, hanging upside down over a boiling cauldron, and it was 50 degrees out. He talks about what you already mentioned, Jenny, Enigma running around in a loincloth. It's 33 degrees. These were the challenges, and I've got to tell you, I was scared to death. The sun was going down. Jim Rose couldn't remember his dialogue, and I had to give him a hug and say, it's okay, and literally give him off-camera line readings in order to get the show done. We got it done, and Jim Rose came off terrific. Everyone was great. He was, too. He's great. I think that Jim Rose does a great job. It was a very big reveal to me to learn about all of this chaos.
Kristin, do you have any crickets? I'm hungry.
You're not that fucking cool, Jenny. Sorry.
No, I would never. I would never.
You would never. I might fucking pull a fucking stunt like this. Tell everybody what we know.
The conundrum crunches on a bunch of crickets, and then Dr. Blockhead, thinking he is about to pull some really cool shit, is like, where are my manners? Would you like a cricket? And Scully reaches into the jar of live crickets, takes one out, and pops it into her mouth and crunches loudly.
Mm-hmm. And
what do you think about that?
Well, I thought it was fucking hot when it happened. And when I learned that Gillian Anderson was supposed to eat a candy, they were supposed to cut right when she got close to her mouth, switch it out for a candy fucking cricket. Also, I love a candy. That sounds good. And have her crunch on that. But this bitch, Gillian Anderson, she just put it in her mouth and she fucking ate that cricket. I was like, that's it. We're getting married. And this is what I mean about, like, I might be the bitch that does this, is because, like, you said I wouldn't do it. Like, in the Scully of it all, in the Scully scenario, like, that challenge of, like, no, you want a fucking cricket? Like, my fiery fucking fuck you energy would just, like, eat the fucking thing just to prove a point. But this is amazing. I love it. I love Gillian Anderson, but to know that she ate this fucking cricket when she wasn't even supposed to is fucking epic. Epic.
Do you think they had a bet?
You won't do it. Yes, I will. I mean, but his face is like, he doesn't have, like, you'd think that he would have broken the take, David Duchovny, by like, but he's in the shot when she eats it, and he, like, manages to keep it together. I hope they had a fucking bet. That would make it even better.
Incredible. Then they walk away, and she does a little sleight of hand thing where she pulls it out from behind Mulder's ear. He's like, what, no quarter? Scully says, Dr. Blockhead and the conundrum can eat shit. My uncle rocks.
Also, I'm sorry. I know that, like, we're not going to make all of these t-shirts, but I really want a t-shirt that just says everybody's uncle is an amateur magician.
It does feel true.
I love that, like, canonically, Gillian Anderson ate the cricket, but Scully didn't. You know? Like, Scully used a sleight of hand. She didn't eat it, but Gillian did. All right. Museum of Curiosities.
3:14 p.m. Why?
Oh, did it say 3:14? Sometimes they just need you to know more than you need to know, and that's fine.
So a sign says freaks free. Others leave donation. Scully tellingly leaves a donation. So I guess she ain't a freak, Kristin. You sure you want to still...
Do you think that when she put the money in the bucket, I was like, is she trying to prove something to herself? You know what I mean? Like,
yeah,
I'm not a freak. You know? So she learns about Chang and Eng, who are real human beings. They were born in Siam, now known as Thailand, and they are actually the reason why the phrase Siamese twins is used.
Whoa.
Yeah. So generally, they were conjoined twins, and they were born in 1811. They lived until they were 62. They both did die, but it was because of liver failure, not what this guy tells us. And one other fact, in 1839, after a decade of financial success, because they had a manager at first, and then they were like, the manager is fucking taking us for a ride. They fired their fucking manager. They did shit their own way. They made a shit ton of money touring in the United States. They quit touring in 1839. They settled in North Carolina, became American citizens, bought slaves. So sorry. Married local sisters. And here's what I want to tell you. They fathered 21 children. 21 children. Whoa. And they lived, their wives and their respective children lived in separate houses. And Chang and Eng would go 3 days to one house, 3 days to the next, 3 days to one house, 3 days. They would go back and forth living with the others' respective families. So they had 21 kids, Jenny, at this point. As of 2006, their descendants number about 1,500. Including this girl, Caroline Shaw, who won a Grammy. She's a composer of classical music,
Wait.
Yeah, probably you know of her.
Hang on a second.
She's exactly our age. Well, she's 42, but
Kristin.
What?
Kristin? Caroline Shaw? You're gonna fucking scream. Caroline Shaw is a woman vocalizing eerily.
Shut up.
On a Yellow Jackets.
Shut up. How did you know that? How did you know that? How did you even know to look for that?
Because I had looked it up when we were recording Doom Coming Season 1 because I love the score so much and knew that Craig Wedren and Anna Warrenker are responsible for the bulk of it, but I remembered seeing her name because it's not just Craig and Anna, that's Caroline's voice is in the mix.
That is absolutely...
When women are vocalizing eerily.
That is fucking wild. It's not even on her wiki. We would have never known had you not done this for us, Jenny. Wow. I guess we end the podcast here,
It's over.
It's over.
We've done what we set out to do.
1 degree of separation from the X-Files to Yellow Jackets. Boom. Roasted.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Okay. I love the curator.
Yeah, me too.
Kristin, gone are the days of me saying, what do you need? Or can I help you? And here are the days of me saying, may I put to rest any questions you may have conjured?
They have an exchange about Chang and Eng. We talked about that. But then I don't know if this is why you love the curator the most, but it's
troll, the amazing troll.
Yeah. He's like, oh, there's something very important in the other room. I never show it to anybody. All you need to do is don't say a word and give me $5. Scully fucking gets it. She fucking gives him the $5. She goes into the thing. She opens an empty box. And when she does, the fucking exit opens. And she's like, God fucking damn it. I got, an incredible I got
so
face
good.
from Gillian Anderson.
It's so good. We also get a rundown of different types of people in this channel of the entertainment business. The curator says blockheads are skilled performers, geeks are just unseemly, like the conundrum, and gaffes are fake.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, and he also gives her a picture of Jim, the dog-faced boy. I wonder why.
Mulder. Okay. I have the only issue I think that I have with this episode's writing is this moment. Mulder finds Mr. Nutt under Scully's trailer, and Mr. Nutt comes out and he's like, no, it's not what you fucking think. I didn't go under Scully's trailer to find my thrills. I get plenty of women on my own. You'd be surprised to find out how many women find my size intriguing and alluring. Mulder's comeback is, you'd be surprised how many men do as well, which makes Mr. Nutt uncomfortable, and then he retreats. Why did we need to do that, Jenny? Why?
Okay. What if
Mulder was serious?
That's where I'm headed. I have a feeling this was sort of like another Darin Morgan taking the piss out of Duchovny.
Right.
And it's like 1995, so it's like, ooh, you're gay.
Yeah.
But the read that I prefer is, what if Mulder is really into it?
He's shooting his shot.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And Mr. Nutt is like, I could never with one such as yourself.
Yeah.
Ugh.
Mr. Nutt is like, fucking gross, dude. Have you looked in the mirror, Mulder? Scully, oh, it's you. She can never say Mulder's name or her own. It's me. It's you. It's me. It's you.
She's like, oh, is Mr. Nutt done with the plumbing? Mulder's like, huge reveal, Dr. Blockhead is actually from Milwaukee. And Scully's like, huge reveal, Sheriff Hamilton was Jim the dog-faced boy.
Yeah, an orphan found in the forest of Albania who was displayed in a locked cage, like pretty much against his tiny child will. This sheriff has been through some trauma.
Is that true? Because that sounds like
the tale,
thing,
right?
Yeah, that sounds like the legend, right?
Yeah, it does, except for Scully said that she found these facts, but I don't...
Well, maybe she accidentally looked in the legend book instead of the fact book.
Me and Scully need to go on like a little camping trip where we do the trust fall a couple of times, because I've really lost some trust in Dana. Okay.
They're like, well, he was once a dog-faced boy. We must immediately spy on him.
Yeah, so they go to his fucking backyard. Mulder's hair is so bad. I write again in my notes, the light shining through every... You could probably count the strands of hair that David Duchovny has. That's how sticky-uppy they are. Fucking Sheriff Hamilton digs a hole, puts something in it, and when he goes inside... They immediately go dig it up. Why not just wait till this man is on duty or something? You know where the fucking potato... You don't know it's a potato yet, but you know where it is. This is where they have the exchange. Having a lot of hair... This is not the words that Mulder uses, but I can't pronounce them all. Having a lot of hair doesn't mean you're a wolf is essentially the translation of all the words he uses. So do you want to use the fancy words, Jenny? I don't want to take them from your mouth.
Hypertrichosis does not... connote lycanthropy, Kristin, as I always say.
As you always say. And Mulder says, we're being highly discriminatory here. Scully, a light bulb going off above her auburn locks, says, it's like assuming guilt based solely off skin color, isn't it? So they realize...
And Mulder says, yeah, and then they look at each other and then go back immediately to digging. It's like they almost learned something today.
They got real close.
This does feel like Darin Morgan staring into the camera and whispering, ACAB.
Yeah. So this is the sound clip we started with.
I think it's so complicated because I feel like we keep going back and forth between like legitimate points being made and then Scully absolutely undermining herself at every turn. You'd think my perception from my experience of watching a lot of procedural film and television, which is, some might say not actually experience, it seems like the rule of thumb is everyone's a suspect,
Yeah.
So in that way, it feels like totally reasonable that would include Sheriff Hamilton, even though he's your liaison, especially when Scully trots out this piece of information. It's been proven serial killers have a fascination with police work.
Right.
So it's, kind of standard to rule them out when you're investigating, just to be sure.
Sure, except for she didn't come up with that line until she got handed the fucking Jim the dog face boy.
We gotta start with the detective work instead of whatever the fuck you started with.
There's a lot of after the fact justification for choices made, like you can always fill in why you did that thing and make it not because he was Jim the dog-faced boy, or not because he was black, to take it outside of the real world. And this is much more after the fact justification than it is if they had come to town and said, well, yeah, the sheriff's a suspect, and then found out, then maybe I'd have space. There's several moments nominated for the funniest moment, but why did you bury the potato? And him explaining, I have a wart on my head. And then Mulder saying, that doesn't explain the potato. Deadpan again is like one of my favorite like beats in the whole thing. He explains he buried it because to get rid of warts, you rub a slice of potato on your hand and bury it under the full moon. Sure.
Yeah. Across town, the conundrum briefly hunts Mr. Nutt's dog, Commodore. And then when Commodore runs through the doggy door, Mr. Nutt opens, and the conundrum unpins the rent check he had attached to his loincloth, or as I write in my notes, his bathing suit area covering, and pays his rent.
His fucking checks say the conundrum on them with his address, which is amazing.
It's
and
pretty
it's
sick.
also like after he pays his rent and like Mr. Nutt is like, why is it always the weirdos who pay their rent earlier on time or whatever he says. I was like, this is probably just something like this is a Commodore and the conundrum bit, you know, like they do it every month.
Oh yeah,
He
it
runs
must be
and
the
chases
first.
him and then he has his rent.
Mhm.
Oh no, Jenny. Oh no.
Oh no, Mr. Nutt gets got by Leonard.
A case against doggy doors.
A strong one.
Mm-hmm. They always lead to some kind of horrific murder.
As if we didn't already learn enough from Eugene Toombs.
Or fucking Rose McGowan in Scream.
Mm-hmm.
Don't go near.
Stay away from those things.
Don't go near a doggy door. Leonard's snarling face. This is a close-up on this is what's that demon called from Buffy who climbs on the ceiling? Queller.
The Queller demon.
Queller mouth. Got a Queller mouth. So coming through the door.
Oh yeah, a couple rows of teeth in there for sure.
Mm-hmm.
Oh my god, in Scully's trailer. This is what I'm saying. Scully belongs here. This is the only time her gun has ever been within reach when she needed it.
And she has a good moment here because, like, she's terrified. The door opens. Lanny comes in. His hands are covered in blood, but her and Lanny have a rapport. Like, she immediately knows to, like, put the gun down and listen to what Lanny has to say.
Mm-hmm.
This place is good for you, Dana. Hang out. Stay here.
Mm-hmm.
I found him, Lanny says. He's dead. This is devastating for Lanny, who, you know, really had a very close relationship with Mr. Nutt. Also, we've gone this far with the Lanny and the Leonard of it all that I just wanted to tell you because there are people in sideshows who have like had their sibling coming out of their body. This is a real thing. And it's called, I don't know if this is how you pronounce it, fetus in fetu, like fetus in FETU. And it's basically where usually twins, one embryo or fetus absorbs the other fetus. And so that the one that's absorbed becomes parasitic in nature and can feed off of the one, like after this one baby is born, that internalized fetus, which is now acting like a parasite, can feed off of the living twin for a very long time and grow, like parts of its body can grow to large sizes. Fingernails can grow, hair can grow, etc. It's a very rare, I think it's like 1 in 500,000, but you know, it does and has happened. I don't believe that any of them can actually detach from their twin's body and run around Gibsonton, Florida or anywhere else, but this is a real thing. And I just feel very good about fetus and fetu. Is that how you say it, listeners? I don't know.
Have you ever read Stephen King's The Dark Half?
No. Is that what the dark half is? The parasitic twin?
I believe it's like something along those lines, but the parasitic twin is evil. And the controls
parasitic twins are always getting a bad
the
rap,
other
you
twin.
know?
I know, it's
Okay. So Lanny, this is so sad and also so sweet, and also gave me another like community moment when Lanny gets so upset and the sheriff holds him and is like, you know, this happens sometimes. It'll be okay, buddy. Let's like take you to the drunk tank and you can sleep it off. It's very caring and loving and sweet, and I love it. Mulder finds the pin in Mr. Nutt's hand, the skull pin, and is like, "Bah, evidence!" And their main suspect becomes the human blockhead.
Dr. Blockhead?
Yeah, I said the human blockhead because the quote is when Scully's like not happy about her suspects and says like whatever she says, Mulder says, "You shouldn't complain about banality, Scully, when your main suspect is the human blockhead."
All right, then shame on Mulder.
I have the location as Dr. Blocks.
Dr. Blocks. He's preparing, must be Tuesday, to suspend himself from many hooks and leave his body. He also says he won't answer any questions till he talks to his lawyer. When Mulder asks who his lawyer is, he says, "I represent myself." Did Scully think for one fucking second before she put handcuffs on this man?
No, she did not. She's new here. He escapes from his handcuffs. I don't even think she clicks them on before he just like runs. He calls them fascists and he runs out the door.
Mm-hmm.
Mulder falls on his nail bed and says, "It's more comfortable than a futon." And then the sheriff is at the door with all of the fish hooks that Dr. Blockhead has put in his chest, holding the wires and sort of saying, "Look what I caught," and giving him a good yank. It's a comedy. This is a comedy, kids.
Yeah, this is a comedy episode.
Oh no, Jenny, I'm so sorry, but I have to tell you the first closed caption on the next scene.
Is it raspy breathing?
No, it is quiet sloshing.
Wow. I wrote, "Don't you just hate it when the closed captioning says raspy breathing?" But if I knew that quiet sloshing was in the mix...
Quiet sloshing. I'm going to try to pay attention to other captions because what we really should do is like end of season nominations for most disturbing closed captioning for the season, you know? If you have any from season 2, if you have any good ones, email them to me and maybe I'll cobble together one for season 2 and we'll pay more attention in season 3.
Yes.
Okay, so Mulder and Scully arrive with Blockhead to the prison where Lanny is quietly sloshing in the drunk tank. And Scully sees into the cell and says to the sheriff, who says like, "Oh, this happens all the time. He'll sleep it off. I don't think he's going to sleep this one off." There's blood on the outs, like right on the underneath piece of the window. And Scully...
No one got in, but someone got out. Scully thinks they'll know more when they find Leonard. She's moldering out. The twin extracted itself. I believe that... Know anything about internal anomalies that allow your conjoined twin to disjoin? Mulder slaps file on desk.
Sheriff Hamilton is immediately not on board. If you're trying to tell me his twin brother could crawl out of his body and then go gallivant around town, you're as drunk as he is. Scully's like, "You senator." She's immediately Mulderified. It's what's inside that counts. I have a feeling what you just said, internal anomaly. And Lanny says, "How could I turn him in without turning myself in?" Oh no, why does he attack other people? Lanny says, "I don't think he knows he's harming anyone. He's merely seeking another brother. It hurts not to be wanted. I don't know why he hates me so. I've taken care of him for all of our lives. Maybe that's why. He'll come back. He always does."
Lanny.
I just have to read LaToya's addendum to this quote in her production notes. This is LaToya. "I feel like this is none of my business, and hopefully Darin and Glenn Morgan have gotten therapy since this episode." Okay, here's where LaToya gets to the Mac and me part of Oopie Gloopy when Scully sees it slink off and then it opens the gate. That's my favorite fucking part, is that it opens the fucking chain link gate to get out.
Leonard skitters off into the darkness. Mulder and Scully have no choice but to follow into the Tabernacle of Terror. There are so many mirrors. There are so many dead ends. There are so many chutes. Scully goes on for a while, as a scene like this will in a show, and it is consistently like, until Scully's coming down a hallway and Mulder just like comes flying out of a chute. He took the slide. And I love that Scully is like, let's look outside and try to find it. And then she just steps over him rather than like helping him up or waiting for him to get up.
Mulder, how David Duchovny and Gillian Anderson shot that moment where he comes sliding out of a hole to her feet without fucking dying is beyond me.
Amazing.
They go outside. Commodore, that's the name of the dog, comes running out of the woods. They follow Commodore, just like Lassie, Timmy in the well. They follow Commodore back to the trailer park. I get so upset because I think the conundrum is about to get got by Leonard.
But the conundrum says, you don't eat me, I eat you.
Unbelievable. Unbe-fucking-leavable. That's what I have to say. The conundrum ate Leonard. Oh my fucking God. Oh my fucking God, he ate him.
It's not what I wanted for Leonard at all.
No, it's not what I wanted for Leonard, but Leonard was unhappy with Lanny, and also they were probably both about to die because Lanny, R.I.P. Lanny.
Yeah.
Lanny also dies shortly after. All right.
Sheriff Hamilton is just like roasting Scully for thinking it was Leonard still, and Mulder's like, now you know how I feel.
I love it. Scully's best friends with Dr. Blockhead at this point because just goes over to chat, like she just wants to like hang out for a minute. And this is where we learn that Lanny died from cirrhosis of the liver, which is actually interesting because the failure of liver is how Chang and Aang actually died. That is the true way that they died.
Scully, an autopsy addict, as noted by LaToya, who we're very concerned about, performed an autopsy on Lanny. And she has this to tell Dr. Blockhead about it.
Well, his body possesses some anatomical discrepancies. Some offshoots of the esophagus and trachea that almost seem umbilical in nature. I've never seen anything like it.
And you never will again. 21st century genetic engineering will not only eradicate the Siamese twins and the alligator-skinned people, but you're going to be hard-pressed to find a slight overbite or not so high cheekbone. You see, I've seen the future, and the future looks just like him. Imagine going through your whole life looking like that. That's why it's left up to the self-made freaks like me and the conundrum to remind people.
Remind people of what?
Nature abhors normality. It can't go very long without creating a mutant. Do you know why?
No, why?
I don't either. It's a mystery. Maybe some mysteries are never meant to be solved.
I love a couple things. Mulder in his hero pose for absolutely no reason, with his like knee up and his hands on his hips,
so good,
staring into the sun. And then Blockhead saying, imagine going through your whole life looking like that. Just like Scully said at the top of the episode.
Incredible.
And it's one more sort of subversion of expectation, flipping things around. I love it.
I also think, like, not to put too fine a point on it, but this thing that Blockhead, I have plenty of my own issues with some of Blockhead's stuff, but what he says here about the genetic engineering actually is in the Gibsonton Guardian article that I mentioned, right? And this guy, Ward, who ran so much of Gibsonton for so many years and what have you, he has a quote in here and he says, "We have people who've just ruined the freak show business. We call them doctors, the medical science. Deformities are now detected in the womb and pregnancies are terminated. Fewer, quote, freaks are born. And if they are, physical abnormalities are medically adjusted." So, like, this is real. This show really hit points that are important. And, like, I obviously work in the LGBTQIA space. So, to me, I think about, intersex babies who are born and who are medically, quote, corrected when they have absolutely nothing that is jeopardizing their health or well-being, but simply to conform to these expectations that our world, our society has. And this is real, right? That we want to make everything look the same. And when something doesn't look the same, we don't like it. And I like that they underlined that point in this episode, too. I think they hit a lot of really important shit. Good job, Darin Morgan.
What a ride. What a ride.
What a ride. And then we get, we already talked about the last beat here, but this is the first time we hear the conundrum talk, which is incredible. Mulder's like, what's wrong with your friend? He's all like slumped over. He's like fucking, what's his face in Stregonona after he ate all the pasta. It's like not well, full up to the top. And he just looks at them with a kind of a little smirk and says, probably something I ate. And they drive away, and Mulder and Scully are like, no, it couldn't be. And I delight thinking, will I get more X-Files episodes like this?
I think you might. But while you wait, Kristin, to find out for sure, let me tell you that I'm Jenny Owen Youngs.
Get out of here.
And and when I'm not watching the X-Files or Buffy or Yellow Jackets or Fallout and making podcasts about all these wonderful shows with you, my good friend, Kristin Russo, I am making music, writing songs, recording songs, playing songs live in concert. My latest album is Avalanche. You can find it wherever you stream music or at your local independent record store or at jennyowenyoungs.com. You can come see me play Mountain Stage in Charleston, West Virginia on November 3rd. And you can give me a shout on socials at Jenny Owen Youngs. Also, heads up, if you want to look at me on the internet, always an option. I'm going to be doing a special little Twitch live stream on the evening of September 26th at 8 p.m. Eastern. Twitch.tv/Jenny Owen Youngs. Come hang out.
It's so nice to be able to find my best friend in so many places.
Kristin, I was mainly thinking of you when I reserved all of my handles and built my website and stuff. I wanted you to have the immediate access you crave.
Yeah, you made it easy. I just remember one thing, Jenny Owen Youngs, and I can find my best friend in any place I so desire.
And it's always nice to meet a fan.
When I'm not thinking about my best friend, Jenny Owen Youngs, or watching television, because then I get to talk more to my best friend, Jenny Owen Youngs, I am often working with and for LGBTQ community, which I guess also includes my best friend, Jenny Owen Youngs. You can learn about the work that I do and come hang. We have a queer book club and a queer horror movie club over there. It's a good time. KristinNoeline.com. That's KristinNoeline. You can use that spelling to find me on social media. And what about us, Jenny? What about the two, just the two of us?
Just the two of us. Well, Buffering, a Rewatch Adventure is on socials at BufferingCast. You can always email us at hello@bufferingcast.com, and you can write to the Crystal Ball at crystalball@bufferingcast.com.
Yeah, please keep writing to the Crystal Ball. Absolutely loved the email I recently got featuring a hammerhead worm, which, Jenny, you can cut into as many pieces as you please, and each one will use its secretions to recreate itself many times over. The reason I got that email, by the way, this doesn't usually happen in the outro, but now that I started talking, I can't stop, is because this worm, if you touch it, it secretes tetrodotoxin. Yes, a chemical, a whatever it is that you're familiar with from the X-Files. Thanks, Bree, for that haunting email. Really appreciate you. And, well, I mean, I was being sarcastic, but I do appreciate you because I will not touch a hammerhead worm because of you. So thank you.
Warning taken.
If you'd like to support us in the work we do, other than sending us terrifying emails, you can join our Patreon, where we have a good time, sometimes a terrifying good time. Patreon.com/bufferingcast. Just like a weekend change, and we're going to announce our next little endeavor over there, which I think many of you will be excited about. Buzz.
This episode was produced by Kristin Russo, Jenny Owen Youngs, and LaToya Ferguson, with support from our consultant, Mackenzie McDade. It was edited by John Mark Nelson. Until next time, the status of this X-File is lurking just over your shoulder, partially reflected in random mirrored surfaces here and there, wondering if it can put to rest any questions you may have conjured.
Wow.
Welcome to Sagas of Sundry Goblin Mode. It's a brand new fantasy series that uses tabletop role-playing games to tell an ever-evolving story. Get ready for action, adventure, and weird little monsters. Set in the mysterious world of Sundaros, Goblin Mode follows a group of underdogs, or should I say, underlings, working for a dark overlord, until they find themselves in charge for once. Join Game Master Amy Vorpal as she leads players Danielle Radford, Dan Casey, and Jason Wynn on an adventure unlike anything you've experienced before. Who will live? Who will die? Sagas of Sundry, Goblin Mode. The adventure begins September 9th. Join Geek and Sundry and Realm for Sagas of Sundry Goblin Mode. Listen on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcasts.
Contained herein are the heresies of Radolf Buntwine, erstwhile monk turned traveling medical investigator. Join me as I study the secrets of the divine plagues and uncover the blasphemous truth that ours is not a loving God, and we are not its favored children. The heresies of Radolf Buntwine, wherever podcasts are available.